Argentina's victory against Austria left several important takeaways. It was not just another win for the world champion team, nor just another Lionel Messi performance in a World Cup. It was a night with moments of control, tension, Argentine superiority, and also one very human detail. Messi missed a penalty that could have extended his lead over Miroslav Klose even further in the all-time World Cup scoring table. Argentina won, once again showed character, and confirmed that it remains a very difficult national team to face. But once the match was over, one of the most anticipated voices was precisely Klose's. The historic German striker, who for years held the record of 16 goals in World Cups, spoke after the match and referred with great respect to what Messi did, Argentina's performance, and the Argentine captain's new place in the history of the tournament. Messi had already come into this match with the possibility of continuing to extend a mark that, until recently, seemed almost untouchable. Klose, with his 16 goals, had stood for years as the all-time leading scorer in the World Cup. But Messi did not only catch him, he surpassed him. And after the match against Austria, he stood 2 goals above the German as the new all-time leading scorer in the tournament. Even so, the story could have been even greater, because Messi had a penalty in his favor, one of those opportunities he normally does not waste. The stadium got ready for another Argentine celebration, for another chapter of the record, for another goal that would leave him with an even bigger advantage over Klose. But this time, fate took another turn. Messi took the shot, missed, and for an instant the match left behind an unusual image. The best player in the world can also make a mistake. Klose, far from using that missed penalty as criticism, took it with humor and even with a certain soccer-like complicity. When I saw the penalty, I thought, well, now he is going 1 goal farther away from me, Klose reportedly said with a laugh. Then he missed it, and I said, at least he gave me a few minutes of breathing room. But the truth is, that does not change anything. Messi has already surpassed me. He is 2 goals above me, and if he had scored that penalty, the difference would have been even bigger. With him, there is always that feeling that he can score at any moment. The phrase reflected the German's tone very well. There was no annoyance, no wounded pride, no exaggerated defense of his old record. On the contrary, Klose spoke like someone who understands perfectly how difficult it is to score goals in a World Cup, and, for that very reason, values even more what Messi is achieving. I had a tiny hope that Leo would stay at 16 goals, he reportedly joked. But it was a very small hope. Knowing Messi and knowing all the matches Argentina still has left to play, it was very unlikely that would happen. When a player like him keeps competing at this level, records are always in danger. The match against Austria showed several sides of Argentina. At the start, Austria tried to make things uncomfortable. They came out with intensity, looked to press Argentina's build-up, and tried to cut off the passing circuits in midfield. They were not a passive opponent. The Austrian team knew that if they allowed Argentina to grow too quickly, the match could get away from them early. That is why they tried to play with compact lines, close spaces through the middle, and force the Argentine national team to move the ball out wide. But Argentina was patient. It did not panic. Lionel Scaloni's team once again showed something that has already become one of its trademarks. It knows how to manage the rhythm of matches. It does not need to attack desperately or live permanently near the opponent's box in order to create danger. It can pause, drop back a few meters, move the ball from side to side, and then, suddenly, accelerate when space appears. Klose highlighted precisely that maturity. Argentina is a team that plays with a lot of calm, he reportedly pointed out. It does not look like a team in a hurry. Even when Austria pressed, Argentina did not lose its composure. And when you have Messi in that kind of match, you know that sooner or later he is going to find a play. And that is exactly what happened. Messi did not need to be present in every action in order to be decisive. At times, he dropped, back to receive. At times, he walked around looking for the right space. At times, he dragged defenders without touching the ball. But every time he came into contact with the game, Austria had to reorganize. 2 players came closer. The defense dropped back a few meters. The midfield hesitated. That is the Messi effect. Even before touching the ball, he already changes the opponent's behavior. The missed penalty was, curiously, one of the most discussed moments of the night, because Messi usually converts those kinds of opportunities, and because the historical context made every shot from him carry special weight. If he had scored, he would not only have increased Argentina's lead in the match, he would also have moved 1 goal farther away from Klose at the top of the all-time scoring table. He would have been 3 goals above the German, an even more striking margin. But the mistake did not change the overall feeling. On the contrary, perhaps it gave Messi's performance a more human dimension. He missed a penalty, yes, but he kept playing. He kept asking for the ball. He kept appearing between the lines. He kept leading Argentina. And that was also valued by Klose. Missing a penalty can happen to anyone, he reportedly said. The important thing is how a player reacts afterward. And Messi reacted the way the greats react. He did not hide. He kept playing, kept influencing the match, and remained the most important player on the field. Argentina, meanwhile, maintained control. Austria had some moments in which it tried to push its lines forward, but it never managed to feel truly comfortable. Argentina's defense responded well, the midfield worked intelligently, and the team found ways to play out of pressure without losing its structure. It was not a victory built only on individual talent, but on a very clear collective idea. Klose also referred to that. For him, one of the reasons Messi can continue to shine is because Argentina surrounds him in the right way. Messi is still Messi, but Argentina also helps him a lot, he reportedly explained. The team knows when to look for him, when to protect him, and when to run for him. That is not a coincidence. You can tell there is a very united group, with a very well-worked idea. That partnership between Messi and the team is one of this national team's great strengths. Argentina does not seem to depend on him in a desperate way, but at the same time, everything improves when the ball passes through his feet. There are players who run, press, and provide balance. There are others who understand when to give him the ball and when to occupy spaces to free him. And Messi, with his experience, chooses better and better the moments to intervene. That is why the record has a special meaning. Messi did not surpass Klose only by being a goal scorer. He did it by being much more than that. Klose was an extraordinary box striker, one of the best finishers in World Cup history. Messi, on the other hand, built his path from somewhere else, assisting, driving the play forward, creating chances, making a difference far from goal, and also finishing when the match needed him to. What Leo does is different, Klose reportedly acknowledged. I was a striker. My main job was to score goals. Messi can score, but he can also make everyone else play. That is why his record has so much value. It is not just the number of goals, it is everything he does around them. The night ended with Argentina celebrating another important victory, and with Messi once again at the center of the scene. The missed penalty remained a powerful anecdote, because it could have extended his historic advantage even further, but it did not overshadow the main point. Messi is already above Klose, 2 goals ahead, and with Argentina still in competition. Klose summed it up with a mix of humor and admiration. I could hope he would stay at 16, but I knew it was almost impossible, he reportedly said. Messi always finds a way. Even when he misses a penalty, he is still capable of deciding a match. That is what makes him so special. For Argentina, the win over Austria confirms that the team remains solid. For Messi, the night adds another chapter to a career that seems to have no ceiling. And for Klose, losing the record was not a reason for resentment, but an opportunity to recognize the greatness of a footballer who continues to expand his legend. Messi has already surpassed Klose. The missed penalty could have left him 1 goal even farther ahead, but even without that goal, history has already changed. The record now has an Argentine owner, and every match still ahead can make it even greater.